Savannah's Trustees Garden is arguably the most historic piece of ground in the American Southeast. If not, then it is definitely a most historic ground. It started as a 10-acre botanical garden and was the first British Crown sanctioned in the New World. Georgia's founder, James Oglethorpe, surveyed the land in 1733. It became a test site for many products, from medicinal plants to peaches to mulberry trees for the silk industry. But cotton tested here became one of America's biggest products. Before that time, people grew small patches near their homes and used it for themselves. But commercially, it started here. The garden had a great view of Savannah River. It's a military strategic location. At least 6 different fortifications were here over the years. In 1776, a group of patriots, Liberty Boys, broke into the Royal Governor's powder magazine and stole the gunpowder and the muskets. We believe the ruins of the magazine are still buried in the terrace behind Morris Center. Much of the powder they took was sent to Boston and expended in volleys of fire aimed at British troops as they marched uphill toward the Patriots in the famous Battle of Bunker Hill. And in 1862, on the same spot as the magazine, the Confederate airship Gazelle was tested. It was then sent to Virginia to serve as an observation balloon in the Battle of Richmond. It was made of silk fabric from the millinery shops around the South and was jokingly dubbed the Silk Dress Balloon by General James Longstreet. The nickname stuck. When it was anchored to a tugboat called Teaser, it made that small vessel the first motorized aircraft carrier in American history. Before that time, balloons were tied to river barges and pushed or pulled by steamboats. A few yards from the terrace on the north side of Morris Park is the spot where the famous duel between General Lackland McIntosh and Button Gwinnett took place. Gwinnett had just signed the Declaration of Independence the year before. Firing from only 10 feet apart, both men were wounded, but Gwinnett died a few days later. A political firestorm forced McIntosh to be transferred to the north to serve under General George Washington, just in time for the long, deadly winter's camp at Valley Forge. 200 years later, in 1945, Mary and Hansel Hillier started their own revolution in an unprecedented renovation to save the historic buildings of Trustees Garden. They changed a patch of weeds and rotting buildings into a residential and commercial center called the Trustees Garden Village. The project transformed the grimy 1800s oil-coated gasworks buildings into a modern commercial success that inspired a new age of urban planning in America. 60 years later, the property was purchased by one of Hillier's early tenants, Charles H. Morris, a newspaperman from Savannah. He again modernized the old buildings, including the Kehoe Ironworks complex that was planned for demolition. He repaired and renovated the rusted falling buildings into modern state-of-the-art centers for gatherings of all kinds, including the Savannah Music Festival and an episode of American Idol. During the work, it was discovered that Kehoe's machine shop, the metal building today, was made from some of the last steel made by Andrew Carnegie's steel mill in Pennsylvania. He sold it to J.P. Morgan and became the richest man in the world. The columns and girders were restored and repaired to look like new. Outside, during the work, a basketball-sized Civil War cannonball was uncovered by one of the workers. The U.S. Army Bomb Disposal Squad from Fort Stewart came in and detonated it because it was too unstable to carry through town. 2 days later, the process was repeated when another worker found a second bomb. Near there, in a trench open next to the Kehoe Foundry building, workers found the outline of a military defensive trench first dug by the British before the siege of Savannah in 1779. It was later redug by Union forces after General William Tecumseh Sherman's army captured Savannah. Now the Kehoe buildings are modernized and hosting events. The work of architects, landscapers, construction workers, consultants, They've all created new from the old without destroying the history. The old Kehoe Foundry, the life's work of an Irish immigrant, was a symbol of the Industrial Revolution and William Kehoe's determination to succeed. Overall, the 285-year evolution saw peace, war, and cultural change, but the dreams of James Oglethorpe, William Kehoe, and Charles Morris have taken Trustees Garden from a 1700s nursery and orchard where Charles and John Wesley walked and prayed, to a noisy, smoke-billowing plant at the time of the Civil War, to a garden once more. Today it has come full circle here at Trustees Garden.